Dear students, welcome to class 4, part 1. In our previous class, we started discussing about several types of elementary or basic signals that are used in signal system analysis. These basic signals play a vital role in uh, finding the dynamic response of a system. And sometimes more complex signals can be constructed using these basic signals. Thorough understanding of those signals therefore necessary for us to continue discussing further topics in the syllabus. We have started discussing about first four types of signals in our last class. I hope you have absorbed the matter well. We discussed about exponential signal both in continuous time form and discrete form, and then we went on to discuss about sinusoidal and cosinusoidal signals of both CT and DT types. Then we also discussed on uh, exponentially damped sine waves. Then finally we discussed on unit step function or signal both in continuous time and discrete time form. If you just go back to your last class, the main agenda of discussing unit step signal was to study a system when some phenomena happens all of a suddenly, such as you switch on a supply or you apply some force that is constant. Suddenly you apply the force and therefore remain constant. How the system responds? In order to simulate that, we need what are called unit step signals, which we already studied. Now think of another situation wherein we require the response of a system when an event that happens and disappears on a system. That is input signal that suddenly is applied and removed from the system. That is, input is applied on an impulsive manner. Best example can be when you hit a nail on a wall using a hammer. The force you are going to apply to the head of the nail in order that nail penetrates the wall is nothing but impulsive. If you want to draw the graph of how the force varies on that nail head as a function of time, so definitely you need a signal of impulse nature. Let us start studying from that signal from this class onwards, and all other remaining types of signals we will completely study in this class. So therefore, first signal we are going to study in the today's class is impulse function or impulse signal. Initially, let us focus our attention onto continuous time case. How to visualize an impulsive signal, impulsive function that appears and disappears, appears with great intensity and disappears. The time of appearance to disappearance is almost zero. That is, at a spike of a time, the signal appears. Yeah, how to visualize that? This is what you can see on the screen, how an impulsive function is described. The continuous time impulse function is described. If signal has unit impulse, so here actually I am describing a continuous time impulse of unit strength or simply a unit impulse. So that is, I'm going to write this list numeral unit impulse function. That is, the function goes to large value, then suddenly goes back to zero value and happens at the origin. That is, the x-axis shown here is the time axis. At the point of observation we call origin, the signal appears and disappears with strength 1. Now how to define this signal mathematically? That is what you're going to see in the next discussion. How to mathematically describe this phenomena? This is what you're going to see now. The continuous time unit impulse function delta t is defined as delta t is equal to 0 for all values of t other than 0. That is, for all values of t other than 0, for t not equal to 0, delta t is equal to 0, and also if you integrate the delta function, its value is 1. That is, whenever you integrate a function or a graph that represents the function, you are actually finding the area under the graph. If you integrate the unit impulse, over the entire interval of time, then it is equal to 1. That means area possessed by this signal is 1. That is, it is a unit impulse, strength 1. So this is exactly how mathematically the unit impulse is defined. It looks very strange. It requires two equations. In the first equation it says the signal is 0 everywhere except at t is equal to 0. That's why I written t not equal to 0. For t not equal to 0, delta t is 0. You can see in the graph everywhere it is 0. Here it is 0. Everywhere for t less than 0 also it is 0. Only at t is equal to 0, that is at this instant, only here it is existing, such that integration of that signal will be equal to 1. That means the signal exists, and it exists only at t is equal to 0. This function is also called as delta function, Dirac delta function. That's why we're using the symbol delta for representing impulse. I am using the letter delta as a function of time. So another name for this function is Dirac delta function. Now, how to practically visualize an impulse function? To just imitate that, think of a rectangular pulse, that is a rectangular signal plotted on the graph. Suppose this is the signal, rectangular signal. Let the width be equal to, width of the signal be delta. Let the width be delta. Now my aim is to make the strength 1, that is area under the graph, which is because when I integrate the delta function, no, the area should be 1. That means area will be 1. When the area is 1, that is if the height of this impulse is 1 by delta. Suppose if the height is 1 by delta, whatever is the width delta, its height should be 1 inverse of that. If you multiply delta and 1 by delta, the product is 1. That means area is 1. Now if you go on reducing the value of the width, that is if delta is decreased towards 0, if width is reduced, that means if I reduce the width, definitely to keep the area 1, I should increase the amplitude, isn't it? I should increase the amplitude so that the new width into that 1 by delta is 1. So like that, if I go on shrinking the width of the signal, finally the amplitude will increase to make the area 1, such that what I shown here will approach. That is, as the area shrunk to 0, the amplitude tends to infinity. So that area is 1. This is how practically I can visualize the delta function. Same thing has been shown here in this series of pulses. Initially I am taking a pulse of width delta, that is at the positive axis it is delta by 2, at the negative t-axis it is minus delta by 2, total width is delta, the amplitude is 1 by delta, height is 1 by delta, area is 1. If I reduce the width, say for example if I reduce the width up to here this much, this is the new width, then to keep the area 1, the height has to increase, isn't it? Height increases. Similarly, if I keep on reducing the width, the height has to increase so as to keep the area 1. So finally when the width becomes 0, the height becomes nearly infinity, so that the area remains 1. So now I am calling this function as a delta function, x delta t is a function of time. Now what is delta signal? That is impulse, unit impulse. Unit impulse is nothing but delta as a function of time is nothing but, it is actually the limiting case of this signal as delta tends to 0. That is x delta t. If delta is made to 0, then this signal almost imitates the unit impulse function. As you can see, the delta t is equal to limit delta tending to 0 of x delta t. That means practically a signal graphically recorded like this, strength 1, practically the unit impulse function has 0 width, infinite height, and unit area or unit strength. So this is how I can practically generate an impulse. That is, if I take a pulse of any shape, but width should be nearly 0. It is not 0. If it is 0, then this signal doesn't exist. It should be nearly 0, as small as possible. And height must be large enough so that it is infinitely large enough so that area is 1. The smaller the width, larger is the height, so that area remains 1. And the area should be 1. That is how the impulse function is visualized in a practical sense. So another way of looking at a unit impulse is this. Suppose you have a non-ideal unit step function. Normally unit step function is supposed to abruptly change at t is equal to 0 to 1, then remain same, isn't it, constant. But here imagine a signal which changes slightly at lesser pace, so that it linearly increases then remain 1. Imagine a special signal, that is a special type of unit step signal u delta t. Now if you differentiate this signal, so when you differentiate the signal, what happens? For all values greater than delta, you know, the unit step signal is constant, no? So differentiation is 0. For all values of t less than 0, the signal itself is 0, therefore its differentiation is 0. Correct? Only in the interval 0 to delta, if you differentiate, then it is equal to a constant. That's what happens if I differentiate the u delta t function, which results in a special signal called delta suffix delta t. Now if you make the delta, the width of this pulse, very small, then height of the signal will be very large, so that is equal to area is equal to 1. Then you are going to visualize the unit step function. That is, smaller the width, larger the height, will be a delta function. Now what is the significance of this signal in actual practice? To understand the significance of this in actual application, let us start studying the properties of unit impulse, as in the next slide. Properties of continuous time impulse function. The first property is, for a unit impulse signal, if you integrate a unit impulse for all time t, it is area equal to 1. That is a basic definition, isn't it? Then suppose if you have scaled your unit impulse, its strength is not 1 but k. Its strength is increased by k times, increased or decreased by k times. Such an impulse, if you integrate, then what you get is equal to k, that is strength of the impulse. Whatever area under the impulse you are going to get, because in this case the strength is not 1 as in previous one, it is k. Therefore you integrate the signal, you will get the value of k. Now okay, now if you multiply a signal, an arbitrary signal x of t with the delta t, the resulting signal is impulse, that is x at 0 into delta t. Now I can visualize this mathematical operation very easily. I'm going to show that in the next slide. Here what happens is, whenever I multiply a continuous time signal x of t, and it is assumed that in the origin it is not having any discontinuity. If you multiply that signal with the delta function, then the resulting signal is another delta function of amplitude x at 0. Because so you know delta t is 0 everywhere except at t is equal to 0. Only at t is equal to 0 a multiplication occurs which results in non-zero value. At all other values the multiplication results in 0. Only at the origin the value is going to come, that is x at 0 into delta t. This operation we'll see in the next slide in a practical manner. Okay, next property. Now if you integrate this product, that is product x at that is if I integrate x at t into delta t, then the resulting equation is x at 0. That is, when you multiply x at t with delta t, what you're going to get is x at 0 into delta t. Now x at 0 is a constant. Now if you integrate with respect to dt, what you get is this following result. That is, because x at 0 is a constant, no? So this will result in x at 0 coming outside the integration, isn't it? This will make x at 0 come out of the integration into integration delta t dt, isn't it? Integration limit minus to plus infinity. So when you multiply these two, so this is 1, isn't it? This entire thing becomes 1. So therefore this is equal to x at 0. That is, if you simply multiply a signal with the delta t, then integrate that. Of course here when I integrate, I should show the integration variable delta t, so it should become x at 0. This is another property. Okay, moving further, now if I multiply a signal x of t with a shifted impulse, now here actually you can see, I think it is new for you, you're going to study this one very soon, a shifting of a signal. Instead of making signal appear at origin, if I make it appear little later than origin, that is delta t minus t0, if I shift the impulse function, then multiply x of t, what I'm going to do is, what I'm going to get is this new product. New product is, it is another impulse, that is impulse at t is equal to t naught with the amplitude of x of t at t naught. This also I'm going to show practically, I mean graphically, in the next slide. You'll understand that. Now it may be a little confusing for you. This property is called as sampling property. Sampling of a continuous time signal in a discrete form, no, makes use of this. Okay, makes use of this property. Next property, which is called shifting property. That is, if I integrate the above signal, that is, if I integrate this signal with respect to dt in the limits minus to plus infinity, what I'm going to get is x of t naught. It is quite obvious. Why? Because x of t naught is a constant. No, when I integrate, x of t naught can be taken outside the integration. So what remains in the integration, when I integrate, the result will be 1. So therefore, what finally I get is x at t naught. I'm going to shift the value of x of t at t naught. Shifting means searching, finding. I'm going to find the value of the signal x of t at t naught. X of t naught is a shifting property. Last property I'm going to discuss is called time scaling property. Suppose if the impulse is time scaled by a factor a, then actually its amplitude gets scaled by 1 by a. That is, if you, what it means is, if I decrease the width of the impulse, amplitude increases. If I increase the width of delta t, then amplitude decreases, so that area remains same. That is, amplitude scaling, time scaling results in amplitude scaling. This is time scaling property of impulse. Now, important property you should know here is, there are two important properties. That is, one is this and this, which I'm going to show you graphically what actually it means. Now this property I discussed in the previous slide, x of t into delta t is equal to x at 0 into delta t. See how I can visualize this. See this graph. Suppose x of t is an arbitrary signal. That is, I'm showing some pulse or some variation of a value in the interval of t, some random signal, okay, having no discontinuity at origin. If I multiply this with an impulse, tell me what happens when I multiply. When you multiply the value to value, instant by instant, say if I multiply this instant to this instant, then this instant to this instant, this instant to this instant, everywhere, you can see at all these instants, I'm sorry, let me erase all. If you are in front of me and the board is there, then it would have been very nice actually, but this is really a test for us. Okay, now we have to leave it, nothing can be done. Yeah, suppose okay, so this is one instant I'm considering, this is another instant, this is another instant, this is at another instance. Okay, so at these instants, sorry, this line doesn't come straight, I'm not able to draw it. I may a little practice is required for me to draw a straight line in this pen. Okay, I'll do it anyway next some classes. See, in this instant, what is this delta t? It is 0, no? 0 into anything is 0. So here also it is 0. 0 into anything is 0. Everywhere except at t is equal to 0. Everywhere if you multiply delta t with the x of t, it is 0. Only at the origin, it is delta t into x at whatever. What is the value of here actually? This value. What is this value? So this value is nothing but, sorry, This value is nothing but, I will write it as x at 0, correct? So only this x at 0 into delta t will result. So what I get is this. If I multiply these two signal, I get x at 0 into delta t, because everywhere else except at t is equal to 0, the signal value is 0. I mean delta t is 0. So this is how I get it. Now suppose I shift the impulse by some time, say t naught, not having at the origin but at the, so shifted impulse is always shown by delta t minus t naught. Okay, if you multiply this, if you multiply delta with this instant, so we'll get another signal, because only at this instant the product is non-zero, x at t naught into delta t minus t naught. This is what happens when I multiply a shifted impulse with the signal. Okay, yeah, I think you understood this property. This actually summarizes all the properties we have studied on impulse. You just go through that. Okay. Okay, now I discussed about impulse in the continuous time form. No, now let us see what is a discrete time impulse and how to define it and how it look like. A discrete time impulse is a straightforward phenomena. That is, discrete time impulse is simply given as a signal at n is equal to 0. That is, it is very easy to define a discrete time impulse. At origin n is equal to 0, just a value 1. All other values are 0. So you can see these dots placed on the x-axis means at all other values it is 0. Only at the origin it is 1. This is how a discrete time impulse function is, unit impulse function is represented. Now how to fit mathematical equation for this? How to show this mathematically? So mathematical definition is this. That is, you can see delta n, that is how it is represented. Delta is a function of n. You can see once again square bracket because it is a discrete signal. To differentiate from the continuous time signal, I am using square bracket. Delta n is equal to 1 for n equal to 0. That is, at the origin it is equal to 1 and it is equal to 0 n not equal to 0. N not equal to 0 means for all other values of n other than 0. For other than 0 it is 0. See, it is everywhere 0. Even if n goes to infinity, the value remains 0 only. For n less than 0 also, all the values are 0 only. That is, delta n is equal to 1 for n equal to 0. Delta n is equal to 0 for n not equal to 0. This is how a impulse function in the discrete time form is defined. Okay, straightforward, no other discussion required. Now what are the properties of discrete time impulse? Only 4 properties I am going to explain. There is x of n into delta n is equal to x at 0 into delta n. That is, when I multiply an arbitrary discrete time signal with the delta n, what results is another impulse function only at the origin with the scale x at 0. The value of x at 0 into delta n. If I multiply a signal x of n with a shifted impulse, it is x at n naught into delta n minus n naught. If I add up all the values, suppose if I, instead of integration, because in discrete system I had to use integration, I mean summation. I used integration for a continuous time system and signal. On discrete time signal and system I had to use the summation. Integration and summation are counterparts in different domains. If I add up all the values of the signal from n is equal to 0 to n is equal to minus 2, n is equal to plus infinity, the net value is equal to whatever the value x at 0. That's what happens. I am only getting the value of x at 0. So if I multiply a shifted impulse with the x of n, then add up all the values, I'll get the value of signal at n is equal to n naught. The signal value at n is equal to n naught.